Hello and welcome back to yet another video on the Alejandro Hernandez podcast. These are going to be my official picks for week 12 of the NFL season. I know I've been a little inconsistent in my releases of my weekly picks. However, last week I will let you guys know that I went 11-4 straight up and 10-5 against the spread. And I went heavy favorite last week. I think I only had two upsets. I had the Bears against the Vikings, and I can't quite recall the other upset that I had. But I did pick the Chiefs against the Broncos. That was a huge upset. The Broncos won that game. However, this week I am going to go heavy favorite once again. However, to start us off on Thursday Night Football, I am going to have an upset. I'm going to have the Houston Texans defeating the Buffalo Bills. And this was kind of more of a logic pick because my heart and I want to pick the Bills. I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl, but I also have to remain objective. And what my mind is telling me is that this is a horrible matchup for the Bills. This is a terrible matchup because they cannot stop the run, and Woody Marks and the Texans have been running the ball at a very good clip recently. So if the Texans can get their run game going with Woody Marks in this game, I believe they can. And that defense of Houston, I think the Bills offense versus the Texans defense is a horrible matchup because what the Bills are great at is running the football. And right now the Texans are one of the best run defenses in the NFL. And if they can shut down James Cook, the Bills tonight are going to be without Dalton Kincaid, without Curtis Samuel, and they're going to be down some playmakers. And I honestly don't think that Josh Allen is capable in this particular spot on the road on Thursday Night Football to carry the Bills. I think James Cook is going to get shut down, and the Texans are going to put the Bills in the exact position that they want them in, which is to throw the ball. And Josh Allen's not going to have many playmakers to throw to. He really only has Khalil Shakir, and Keon Coleman has been all out of sorts recently. He was a healthy scratch against the Bucks, so they can't rely on Keon Coleman. They're going to have to rely on Terrell Shavers, I believe that's his name. And I think that's just a recipe for disaster. And I think this game is going to lean Texans very early on. And I think the Texans defense is going to dominate this game. And I think that the run game of Houston will get going with Woody Marks. So I'm going to have an upset. And my heart tells me, well, it's Josh Allen versus Davis Mills. Obviously, I'm going to lean Josh Allen. But people have just been stereotyping Davis Mills as a horrible quarterback. Look at the numbers. Davis Mills has been playing good football in all of his starts. He's playing really well. He's actually getting the ball to Nico Collins more than CJ Stroud was. It's kind of a Jacoby Brissett situation with the Cardinals. I'm not saying that CJ Stroud is bad. I'm not saying that Davis Mills is a better quarterback than CJ Stroud. However, Davis Mills has been operating the offense very, very well in CJ Stroud's absence. Dalton Schultz, I'm sorry, I screwed up his name. Dalton Schultz has gotten 6+ receptions in 3 straight games. Nico Collins has gone over 75 yards in 3 straight games. Davis Mills is getting the ball to these playmakers, and they're running the ball really well with Woody Marks. So I love this spot for the Texans at home on a short week. Give me Houston to upset the Buffalo Bills. Now for the 1 p.m. slate on Sunday, the first game is going to be the Chicago Bears versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I like the Bears to win this game and cover the spread, which is set at -2.5. I think this is a good matchup for the Chicago offense versus the Pittsburgh defense. Right now, Caleb Williams and the Bears are number 1 in the NFL in terms of big plays, and the Steelers defense is one of the worst at allowing big plays. And this was seen the Packers-Steelers matchup when Tucker Kraft completely took over the game for Green Bay because the Steelers are really bad at tackling. And the Bears have so many playmakers across the board with Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai. I think this Bears offense is going to have no issue moving the ball down the field. And what the Steelers have benefited on all season is turning over the opposing team. But Caleb Williams does not turn the ball over. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at taking care of the football and not throwing interceptions. So I think that's going to be the main focus on the game plan for the Bears this week, is to simply take care of the football, not give the Pittsburgh offense extra possessions, and they're going to run the ball a lot with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. I think they're going to get that going. The Bears are at home. The Steelers are potentially without Aaron Rodgers in this game because of his broken wrist. That means Mason Rudolph is starting, and the Bears defense has been great at creating turnovers. So I believe they're going to create some turnovers on Mason Rudolph. I think the Steelers are going to have a lot of trouble moving the ball on that Bears defense. So I think this could actually be a blowout for the Bears. I'm very, very confident in this pick. I like the Bears to win and cover the spread, which is set at -2.5, and improve to 8-3 and increase their lead as in first place in the NFC North. Now for the next game, it's going to be the New England Patriots versus the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to have the Patriots winning this game and covering the spread, which is set at -6.5. I honestly think the spread is too low. And the Patriots are playing great football right now. They're on extra rest because they played on Thursday night. And this is a dream matchup for them offensively versus that Bengals defense. This Bengals defense is really bad. It's honestly historically bad. The tackling displayed by the Bengals defense is like the worst I've ever seen on a football field. It's really, really bad. And the Patriots have Travion Henderson, who's going to break out this game once again. I expect them to have a big game. They potentially have Ramondre Stevenson back, so now they have their two-headed monster in the backfield back. And Drake May is playing at a great level. So I think the Patriots are going to have a ton of big plays. The Bengals are going to be missing tackles left and right, blown coverages left and right. I think the Patriots are going to score 30 plus in this game. And on the other side of the ball, the Patriots have a great defense. They're great at stopping the run, and they're going to get a pass rush on that Bengals horrible offensive line. They're going to affect Joe Flacco. The Bengals are also without Jamar Chase in this game. I think this is a no-brainer pick. Give me the Patriots to win in Cincinnati and cover the spread and win by at least a touchdown. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Detroit Lions versus the New York Giants, and I'm going to be taking the Lions to win and cover the spread, which is set at -9.5. I just think this is a horrible matchup for the Giants. Just straight up horrible. Whether Dart plays or whether Winston starts, I just think it's not a good matchup. The Lions are coming off a loss, and the Lions are one of the best teams in the league coming off a loss. And when the Lions play inferior opponents, they blow them out, especially when they're at home. So I think this is a horrible spot for the Giants. I love the Lions coming off a loss, coming back home to Ford Field. And I think Gibbs and Montgomery run loose on this Giants' weak run defense. And then on the other side of the ball, whether it's Jameis or Dart, I just don't think that they're going to be able to keep up with the explosive Lions offense. So give me the Lions to score either 30 or 40 points in this game. I don't think the Giants are going to be able to keep up offensively against the Lions offense. So that's why I love Detroit in this matchup. I think they're just going to have big plays all over the field with Jameson Williams, with Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're just going to completely torch our below average defense. So that's why I like the Lions in this matchup to win and cover the spread. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Green Bay Packers at home against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to be taking the Packers to win and cover the spread, which is set at -6.5. I also think this line is too low. I know the Vikings have been good against divisional opponents this year, but J.J. McCarthy has just been playing so bad, and I cannot pick him in this spot on the road in Lambeau Field to even cover the spread against the Packers. I think the Packers defense is just going to overwhelm the Vikings offense. I think that Packers pass rush is going to affect J.J. McCarthy. He's going to be off his spot all game, and historically the Packers have done very well at containing Justin Jefferson, so I do believe they'll have a game plan for him. And the frustration displayed by the Vikings last week was imminent. You saw Justin Jefferson just launching his helmet on the sidelines. J.J. McCarthy's accuracy has been all over the place, and I think the Packers have a great run defense. So if the Packers are able to stop the run and they force J.J. McCarthy to throw, then this is a recipe for disaster for the Vikings. And on the other side of the ball, Jordan Love is playing some of the best ball of his career. And I know he's been inconsistent, but he hasn't really had much help from his receivers. They've been dropping passes left and right. Romeo Doubs, I think, dropped like 5 passes last week against the Giants. However, even without Jacobs in this game, Emmanuel Wilson is one of the better backups in the league. I think he will get the run game going against the Vikings. And I like the Packers in this matchup at home to win and cover the spread due to playing great defense, forcing turnovers off 9, which is J.J. McCarthy. And I think the Packers offense will get going. Jordan Love will throw a couple touchdowns, and they'll win this game comfortably. So give me the Packers to win and cover the spread, which is set at -6.5. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Seattle Seahawks on the road to play the Tennessee Titans. I like the Seahawks to win and cover the spread. It's a massive number. It's -13.5. I don't care. I'll lay the points. I think the Seahawks team is going to rebound off the loss to the Rams. They're one of, if not the best road team in the NFL. Their record on the road is impeccable. I think they lost their very first road game in like 11 road games straight against the Rams this week, so I think they're going to bounce back this week. And it just sucks because Cam Ward has been put in the worst situation in the entire NFL. He has no supporting cast, no run game, no receivers, no defense. He has pretty much nothing to work with. He's working also with an interim head coach. I think Seattle is going to blow the Titans out, and I think their defense is going to dominate this game. They're going to get some sacks on Cam Ward, create some turnovers, and on the other side of the ball, I expect the Seahawks to lean more on the run game this week, given that Sam Darnold just threw 4 picks. They're probably going to lean on the run game, get Kenneth Walker going, get Zach Charbonnet going, and then they'll also get JSN going on the deep ball. So I think the Seahawks are going to play off play action. They're going to run the ball a lot. They're going to get JSN involved early, and they're going to lead this game out the gate. Usually when the Seahawks win by blowout, it's like 21-0 by the first quarter, and I get the sense that this is how this game is going to go. So give me the Seahawks to win and cover the big number. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Colts at the Kansas City Chiefs, and I like the Chiefs in this matchup a lot. And Their spread is -3.5. I like the Chiefs to also cover that spread. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but I do think they'll win by at least 4 points in this game. And I think that right now the matchup between the Colts offense and the Chiefs defense is going to be one to look out for. And it's going to be whether or not the Chiefs can slow down Jonathan Taylor. That's going to be the biggest matchup in this game to watch out for. Because I know the Chiefs will put up points in that Colts defense. I don't necessarily rate the Colts defense very well, even despite the addition of Sauce Gardner. The Falcons were still able to put 25 points on that Colts defense with Michael Penix playing inconsistent football. So I like the Chiefs offense against the Colts defense, but the really matchup I want to look out for is the Colts offense versus the Chiefs defense. Will Daniel Jones fold under pressure? He did in Pittsburgh, and he had a couple turnovers against the Falcons. If the Chiefs are able to generate a pass rush, which I know they will, because I know Steve Spagnuolo has a ton of blitz packages prepared for Daniel Jones, and he's going to have blitzes that he won't see coming. He's going to make mistakes in this game. How will he respond after he makes those mistakes? Will he melt down and crumble like he did against Pittsburgh, or will he respond and, I guess, kind of flush those mistakes out of his memory and come back and still throw and perform at a high level? That is what I'm going to be looking out for in this game. And I know the Chiefs are going to I wouldn't say shut down Jonathan Taylor, but I know they are going to contain him. I expect Jonathan Taylor to rush for under 100 yards in this game. I don't think he's going to have the breakout performances he's been having all year, because when the Chiefs single out and try to stop the run and they really try to shut down a star running back, they're usually successful in doing that. You've seen it in the Super Bowl with Saquon Barkley. Even though they did lose that game, the game plan was to shut down Saquon and to force Jalen Hurts to beat them. Hurts did beat them, but they did effectively shut down Saquon. And when they played great running backs, they shut them down. So I expect Jonathan Taylor to not run wild in this game. And that's what the Colts want to do. They want to run the ball with Taylor. And if they can't do that in this game, how is Daniel Jones going to respond? And I honestly would not trust him in this spot. In Kansas City, in Arrowhead, the Chiefs have only lost one game at home this year. They've been a way better home team than a road team, so that's why I like Kansas City in this spot. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to outplay Daniel Jones in this game. And I was shocked last week when Bo Nix outplayed him, but that game was in Denver. This game is in Arrowhead. So that's why I like the Chiefs' home crowd advantage, home field advantage in this game to take over. I like Patrick Mahomes in the clutch in the spot. If this is a close game, I like the Chiefs because they have the better coaching staff, they have the better defensive coordinator, they have the better offensive coach, and they have the better quarterback. So that's why I'm going to lead Kansas City to win and cover the spread in this game. Now, for the next game, it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens at home against the New York Jets. I'm going to be taking the Ravens to win and cover the spread, which is set at -13.5. The Jets officially benched Justin Fields. Tyrod Taylor is going to be the starter. And who does he even have to throw to? He's got Adonai Mitchell, who can't catch the football to throw to. This Jets offense is anemic, and right now their biggest strength is running the football. But this Ravens defense has been great at stopping the run as of recently. So I expect this Ravens defense to dominate early on, give the Ravens offense extra possessions by causing turnovers and 3-and-outs, and the Ravens offense is going to play outstanding. I think Lamar Jackson throws for multiple touchdowns. Derrick Henry easily rushes for over 100 yards in this game and a couple touchdowns. Give me the Ravens to win by blowout. I don't see a scenario where this game is close. Give me the Ravens to win and cover the spread and finally have a winning record in the season. I think they improved to 6-5, and they closed that gap on Pittsburgh in the division. Now, for probably the worst game of the slate, it's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders hosting the Cleveland Browns. And I'm thinking logically here, and a lot of people are picking with their heart, and they're picking Shedeur Sanders in his first start. I'm going to be picking the Browns to win the game, and right now I think they're underdogs. I think they're either +2.5 or +3.5, and I think that line is outrageous. And I'm going to be picking the Browns, and it has nothing to do with Shedeur. I think the Browns have the way better run game, they have the way better offensive line, and I think the Browns defense is just going to dominate this game. And we saw how the Raiders offense made the Cowboys defense on Monday night look like the '85 Bears. Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark absolutely dominated that game. And I think Myles Garrett is going to dominate this game against the Raiders offense. I think Geno Smith is probably going to have multiple turnovers in this game. He's going to be under duress the entire game because the Browns are going to be getting pressure relentlessly. And I think that the Browns defense is going to dominate this game. They're going to create multiple turnovers on Geno Smith. And Ashton Genty had no running lanes against the Cowboys defense. The Browns defense is way better. I think it's going to be even tougher for Ashton Genty to have any room to run against this Browns defense. So that's why I like the Browns to win and get the upset in this spot. And it has nothing to do with Shedeur. I think the only way the Browns do lose this game is if Shedeur loses them this game. And I think that he's not going to try. I hope he doesn't try to play hero ball in this game and try to, do all that running backwards and try to make a big play. Just simply operate in the confines of the offense the same way Dylan Gabriel was. Just make accurate, timely throws, move the ball, rely on your run game, rely on play action. I hope Kevin Stefanski calls a good game for him, and I hope he wins. I'm honestly rooting for him, but I honestly think that this game has nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders. I like the Browns' run game and defense to dominate this game. That's why I'm going to be picking the Browns to get the upset. Now, for the next game, it's going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Arizona Cardinals. This game is so hard to predict. The Jaguars overall are just such a hard team to predict. I've been flip-flopping, getting them wrong each week. I pick them to win, they lose. I pick them to lose, they win. It's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I can't get any Jags games right. And they're 6-4 somehow. And they're winning games that they shouldn't be winning, and they're losing games that they should be winning. It's just so hard to predict. However, I am going to lean Jacksonville in this spot. I'm going to pick them to win and to cover the spread, which is set at -2.5. And I honestly think they are still capable of winning the AFC South. They're only 2 games back, and if the Colts lose this week like how I think they are, and the Jags win this week like I think they are, they're only 1 game back of the Colts, and they still have to play the Colts twice this season. So the Jags have a very serious shot at the division. I think they realize that. I think they know that. I think there's a sense of urgency in that locker room, given the huge win they just got over the Chargers. Right now, they have tiebreakers over both the Chargers and the Chiefs, and that's huge when it comes playoff time, because those tiebreakers are going to mean a lot when they're battling the Chargers and the Chiefs to enter the playoffs. So I think there's a sense of urgency week to week to get wins, and they play an inferior opponent this week. I expect Liam Cohen to have his team prepared, and I think that their defense against the Cardinals offense, a lot of the Cardinals offense right now is just empty calories. The Jacoby Brissett just threw for over 450 yards and 47 completions, and it did not matter because they lost by 20 points. So I think a lot of their numbers on offense have come in garbage time. They've lost by 20 plus points in back-to-back games. And I think that right now, the Jags defense is going to dominate early on. They're going to get some turnovers off Jacoby Brissett early. The Cardinals will be playing catch-up. The Jags will run the ball well with Tank Bigsby and ETN, and they will control this game. Give me the Jags to win and cover the spread, which is at -2.5, and cut the lead in the division by only 1 game. Now, for the next game, it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going with an upset. I'm going to be picking the Cowboys to beat the Eagles. I think that this is a bad matchup for Philly. I think Dallas's offense is going to have a lot of success against the Eagles' defense. And right now, the Eagles' defense is playing like among the best in the NFL. I just think this Cowboys' offense is a bad matchup because of their receivers. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, I think, will dominate this game. The same way they dominated the Raiders, I think they're going to dominate this game against Philly. I expect Dak Prescott to rise to the occasion. I expect him to have a big game against this Eagles defense. And on the other side of the ball, the Eagles have not been able to get things right on offense, and I think they finally are facing a team that can make them pay for that. And I think the Cowboys offense is going to score some points early on. The Eagles are going to be playing from behind. That's going to force Jalen Hurts to throw. And that's not a spot the Eagles want to be in. So I think Dallas is simply just going to outscore the Eagles offense. I like the Cowboys in this matchup at home. The spread, I believe, is only +3.5 Cowboys. I like them to win the game outright. I think that Hurts is going to play from behind, and the Cowboys pass rush with Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark is going to get going. The Eagles have struggled to move the ball consistently, and I think the Cowboys are going to make them pay for that finally. So give me Dallas to win at home against the Eagles as +3.5 underdogs. They almost got the win in week 1. They probably should have if CeeDee Lamb doesn't drop all those balls. But right now, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are a dynamic duo, and I think the Cowboys are the team to make Philadelphia pay for their weak offense right now. So give me the Cowboys to win in an upset. Now for the next game, it's going to be the New Orleans Saints hosting the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to lean towards the Saints with Tyler Show, and I'm not going to lie, I underestimated Show, and I went based off his reputation. His reputation was that he wasn't a very good quarterback, and I kind of bought that without really watching him play. However, I think 2 weeks ago before the bye week against the Panthers, he really impressed me. He played a great defense, and he threw the ball really, really well. He threw for over, I think, 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. Played an awesome game. An awesome game, and this Falcons team is reeling. Now, without Michael Penix for the rest of the year, without Drake London in this spot, this is not a good spot for the Falcons, and I think they're going to lose their, 8th straight game in a row. The Falcons have lost so many games. Their fans are fed up. Now they have Kirk Cousins as their starting quarterback, which I believe makes him one of the bottom 3 worst starting quarterbacks in the league because he's just not very good anymore. He's simply washed, and I think the Saints defense historically has been great at home against the Falcons. So I'm going to lean Saints in this spot. I think Tyler Show is going to put up some good numbers against this Falcons defense. They've been playing horrible in recent weeks. They allowed Jonathan Taylor to run nuclear. They allowed Bryce Young to throw for 400-something yards last week. I think Tyler Show will have success against this defense. Give me the Saints to win at home. Now, for the matchup on Sunday Night Football, it's going to be the Los Angeles Rams hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like the Rams to win in this spot, but the Bucs to cover the spread at +6.5. I think the Bucs offense and Baker Mayfield is good enough to keep this game within striking distance. However, I will lean Rams because they do have the better quarterback, the better coach, the better defense. So I think that it's going to take a Herculean effort from Baker Mayfield to even keep this game close, despite all the weapons he's down. I believe Bucky Irving might be back this game, but they also might still be down Chris Godwin. I think they're both questionable to play. If they both do end up playing, that's great for Tampa. However, I will lean Rams because I believe they're the best team in the league. They're at home, and I trust Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay to get the job done on primetime against the Bucs. And I think this matchup plays well into the hands of the Rams because the Bucs are great at stopping the run. However, the Rams have been great at throwing the ball this year. And Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, I don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the defensive backs to hang with those receivers. Stafford is playing at an extremely high level. And on the other side of the ball, the Rams have a great pass rush that should affect Baker Mayfield. And when the Bucs are at their best, it's when they're running the ball. The Rams have one of the best run defenses in the league. So I think Baker Mayfield plays his heart out, keeps this game close, but ultimately the Rams do walk away with the win on Sunday Night Football at home. And now for the final game of the Week 12 slate, it's going to be the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Carolina Panthers at home on Monday Night Football. I think this is a really interesting matchup. You rarely see the Panthers on primetime, and it's weird because they have the number 1 overall pick, and usually that means that you get primetime games, but I guess not for Carolina because they're just not a big market. However, they're winning games this year. They're 6-5, and all 6 of their games have come as underdogs. So I'm going to pick the Niners to win this game because I think McCaffrey is just going to take the game over, and the Panthers will have no answer for him. However, I am going to take the Panthers to cover the spread, which is set at +7.5. I think Bryce Young and Rico Dowdle and Ted McMillan are going to be able to put up some points in this San Francisco defense. I think they'll keep it close. However, the Niners are just a great situational team. I think the Niners have the better coaching staff, and they are at home. So for those reasons, I'm going to lean San Francisco. I think Brock Purdy plays well enough, and McCaffrey plays outstanding that the Niners will play from ahead. But I do believe the backdoor cover is well there for the Panthers. It's +7.5, so I'm getting at least a touchdown. I think the Panthers can keep it within that, and I think Bryce Young will play well enough. I have faith in Bryce that he won't completely shit the bed in this game. I think he's going to play decent. He's going to get the ball to Ted McMillan. I think the Panthers are able to run the ball well with Rico Dowdle. So I think the Panthers will keep it close, but ultimately the Niners have the better coaching staff, the better quarterback, and the better weapons. So I'm going to lean San Francisco at home, and I'm going to have them improving to 8-4 and the Panthers to 6-6. And that is going to be it for this week's picks, and I will see you guys next time for when I release my top 10 teams in the NFL after Week 12.